Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Hope everybody's doing all right. Had a happy new year, a safe and happy new year. But I'm coming to you tonight to discuss how we're walking into this New Year's. My. Hi, Mike. How you doing? 23, 7, A, 23, 7, 1. I ought to write that down. I could take a screenshot of that. Anyway, uh, we had a good time last night, even though I came up late. And of course, I got right on taking a look to see what the reactions were, how the hi, Finding Dory. How are you? How things were going there down south in that country in our hemisphere. Do y'all remember something called the Monroe Doctrine? I'm sure a lot of you have because you went to school at a time when they taught you things that were historically accurate. But the Monroe Doctrine, I guess, what was it? How long ago was that? Maybe, was it before Trump became president? No, it was after Trump left office. John Kerry, I think 2 years ago, he said, the Monroe Doctrine is dead. So, boy, I tell you what, if we can have what happened down south happen in our hemisphere and not a peep about it in the news, no politicians, not even prominent Republicans are saying, no one is saying anything about this situation. Hi, Brighter Day. Hi, Interesting Tidbits. Reba, how are you? B-Dog, Chicken Grandma, Wanda, Sharon, how are you? So good to see you all tonight. So anyway, a lot of you remember the Bay of Pigs fiasco, the Cuban Missile Crisis. We had we went to the brink of nuclear war, and everybody can say, "Well, it was different because they put atomic bombs in Cuba." That's why. No. The thing was, it was a Soviet influence along with those missiles, and with what's going on now down in the South American continent, we don't know what they're doing down there. We don't know what they have, what they brought, but no one seems to care, at least in the media. So anyway, things went pretty much the way I figured after the New Year's. The people of that country just kind of numbly staggered forward into the new year in a daze, a lot of them, most of them, unable to believe what's happened. And boy, doesn't that bring back memories. Talk about being in a daze. But what few posts I saw come out of there were what the media was putting out as the crowd for the inaugural for this person, Lulu. And they were actually using pictures from the prior inauguration. And they showed the pictures that were being put up in the media, like, oh, everybody's coming to this inauguration. And then somebody had either a drone or a helicopter in real time was showing how the paucity of the crowd. And either you hear nothing at all from the media, or what you see is very misleading. I don't know what's worse, their silence or misleading. So anyway, I did read that the inauguration went off, and I saw a photograph of Lulu inspecting the troops, I guess, and he walked by the generals and pretty much kept his back to them and really showed very little respect for them. So there is some obvious friction. Hi, Nikki. How you doing? Hi, Michelle. Doc Ghost 84. How are you? We got Sharon and everybody's. Debbie's in here. Solo. So I saw an article where the Supreme Court just a day before suspended people's gun registrations, gun licenses across the country, and at the same time they prohibited any firearms in the Capitol. So I don't know if they went around, took them from people, or what they did. The media was very quiet today, even social media, very little coming out, except for the pictures showing the phony crowd versus the actual crowd. And the last thing I heard was that people were talking about possibly doing a general strike, but even that's muted talk because the people are afraid. They had a video. One guy was out in the street just crying, a grown man. I mean, people don't realize, a lot of Americans don't realize how vindictive and brutal a regime like that can be. But I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that once these 85,000 agents kick in. So they may be getting an idea of why people are so worried and concerned. Said, I don't know how they're still in business either. Karen, I'll tell you why. They're getting money from these non-government organizations, and they bully these companies in advertising, or they have companies that are down with the program advertising. We've all seen, brought to you by Fi, and you know the rest of it, Zer. Okay, we've all seen that. That's who sponsors the shows. Yeah. Debbie O'Neill said new, and then the rest of it, I know the rest of it is some kind of order, right? So anyway, the pictures are false. There's all these reports of how serious and optimistic the new government's going to be, and people that are watching TV just can't believe their eyes. And I checked with Mr. T, and not one word about this situation, not one word. And I'm sure that's to make the baddies nervous. But there isn't any. Did you all hear anything on the news about this inauguration? I did see one thread somebody put forward as a reminder, was that about, I guess, 5 days before the end of his term, Bolsonaro's enacted what's called Article 142, I believe it is, that the Supreme Court, the Supreme Military Court, would be the arbiter of what was legal or not legal, and the Secretary of Defense would be in control of the process of how this is going to be determined, the complaint concerning what happened on that day. So I'm talking in code, as you know, but so I was automatically looking to see if this Lulu person had tried to do anything with the Secretary of Defense. And I didn't see anything. Like I said, there's very little getting out. But this person is correct that he did enact Article 142, and it has been put over in the hands of the military. But the thing that's got people very concerned and worried was the speech that we discussed last night. And I will say Bolsonaro did look very nervous. He looked concerned, but he also picked his words very carefully. And at the end of his broadcast, you could hear a woman crying in the background. But anyway, he's in the U.S. He's in Florida. We haven't seen any pictures of him with Trump. We haven't seen any reports of a meeting with Trump. But this Lulu gave his speech today, and he said something to the effect they didn't wish any conflict or ill will towards their opponents, blah, blah, blah. But then at the same time, he said, we want to enforce the rule of law. And to me, that I could see where people would take that as a veiled threat. And I think, my personal opinion, that Bolsonaro didn't have any other choice but to leave the country before he formally gave up power. He's, in my mind, he's a president in exile. He's a president in exile. And the same person who brought up the Article 142 and they call it the STM, Supreme Military Courts. I don't know why they use the initials STM, but if you see that, you'll know what somebody's talking about. What they also speculated on was that he said it's my understanding. So didn't give any sources, didn't give anything hard to say, but except that it was his thoughts that there was a more than one military involved, and that there was a mutual agreement that before anything was done, not just in that country, in Bolsonaro's country, but anywhere, that it would be coordinated and concurred with by the participating militaries. So, hi, Lori, how you doing? Yeah, there's no news. Lori says there's absolutely no news. There is a little dribbling out. And I have to say there is an undercurrent of people messaging out from Brazil. If you see anything on Telegram or Twitter, you see a lot of people with that are very down on the military. One of them said they'll do whatever they're told to get a paycheck. And they used some foul language, and they said, it's a shame that they can't find some other way to get their 500. They had just the number 500 a month. So, they're not very well paid. And there are people that chime in and say, don't be so hard on them. They're just following orders. They're trying to keep the peace. And a lot of people are saying, have faith, that there would be action taken at some time. And I saw some people bring up the what we were talking about last night, that people are not going to understand or get it. Some people, the wording one person used is, until the boot is on their neck is when they're going to realize. And it's just a shame that so many people have to endure seeing this type of stuff happen. I might take a chance and go into my studio and see if I can pull up stuff and see if I'm still alive. And if that happens, if I go off, I will come back on. Okay, guys. So I'm going to try to. I'll let you know when I try to do it. But I tell you, I want to get what's in my thumbnail out of the way. Who can't handle the truth? Who? I know I can handle it, but apparently they can't in New York. I also got in the thumbnail fibbing for office with a question mark. You have all heard about this Republican representative in New York who fibbed about certain things and I guess where he went to school or how he graduated. But the big things he fibbed about was he said he was gay, and apparently, according to a lot of reports, he's not. And he said he was Jewish, and he's not, as they say, a Jew. And his response was, he said, "No, I said I was Jewish, like Jewishy, not really Jewish, but Jewishy kind of, he made light of it." And the Democrats are going nuts, and they're calling for a federal investigation, claiming he's committing fraud. So that's part of the reason I put that in the title. Who can't handle the truth? We had to handle what we were told when Barack and Mike Shell went into office. Were they truthful as us? When they ran for the second term and they said they were for the Defense of Marriage Act, were they being truthful with us? When they were saying Mike Shell was the first lady? And, gay marriage wasn't even lawful for their first term. So who defrauded who here? And do you see us jumping up and down saying, well, put those two in jail for lying to the American people? Well, no, but should they be? Well, I don't know. They put Mike Shell in charge of the they said school lunch program. I'm using my hands to do quotation marks. That she was meeting with the NEA and all these organizations for education, supposedly for school lunches. But I think it was for much more. I think it was for what we're seeing being put in front of our children now. That's when it started. Don't you think? That's when this stuff started, where young people started doubting their natural condition. I'll put it that way. Were being asked how they felt about their natural condition. So I think there was a lot more done with governmental agencies. And I guess Mike Shell was what the education czar or school lunch czar is what they said. But I think it went to a lot more in school lunches. And wouldn't you like to have the emails and the minutes of the meetings and see the things that were discussed? Because I'll tell you what, Ron DeSantis, he sent out letters to a lot of these establishments that has these family-friendly shows, if you know what I'm talking about. And they said, look, you're in danger of losing your licenses, and that there's a possibility of criminal conduct happening, those so-called family-friendly events. Because there's laws on the books that you don't expose young ones to adult material or simulated or actual adult behaviors. That's a criminal act. Okay? So that's getting out there in Florida. And at the same time, a federal court upheld a Florida court that said you can't let someone of a biological condition, a situation, go into the restroom of another biological situation, if you know what I'm saying. And I think in my title I used the word aberrant, because attorneys that wanted to permit these people who are, I guess I can say the word transitioning, they want to let them go in the room of their choice. And this judge said, no, your biological condition is what governs where you're lawfully permitted to go. And the federal court upheld that. And the opposing attorneys use the term aberrant. That's an aberrant ruling. And you know what? I debated using that term months ago. I settled for hedonists. I settled for deviating from the norm. That's when someone can be considered a deviant. If they're deviating from the norm, that's a statistical term. But aberrant was one I was going to use, but I thought, that might be taken the wrong way or as an insult. And now they're using it to try to justify aberrant behavior. They're saying that this judge who is using what has been generally accepted, not just in this country, but in every civilized country, they're saying that is aberrant. So I kind of found that amusing, the use of the term. Let's see. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. Nikki said, thank you. I haven't been keeping up with the chats. But anyway, so they're getting on this guy from New York for lying because he said he was Jewishy and he said he was gay. He's not. And he's not giving up. He's not going to leave all, because they make fun of it, about politicians lying. When they get caught doing it, it's all, well, everybody knows politicians lie. Ha, ha, ha. Everything's certain, but death and taxes are two things certain. So we tax you more. Ha, ha. It's all funny when they're doing it. But when you got a Republican who says one thing and it's not true, they want him charged federally. So let's just kick that back. Let's kick that back to when we thought we were getting a president and a first lady that were lawfully married. Because if what is being speculated is true, they could not be in a married state at the time, because gay marriage was not recognized until the Supreme Court ruling. I guess there were some oddball states that may have had it. I don't know. Have to see if they had which state they had their marriage license in. So talk about defrauding people, and that she's going to be involved in federal programs, federal educational programs for nutrition and food. Oh, yeah? How come all of a sudden we started seeing all these different colors in the flag, and all these kids will walk around thinking the way they think and confused and ending up harming themselves? Oh, some more the ouchie files. They've been holding off on that. Yeah, they're out to degrade. It's degrading to women. Exactly right. Nikki, you do. They say, I hope you get some rest. I hope you do too, honey. You gotta pace yourself, sweetie. Patriot Missile, how you doing? Lori Logan, how you doing? So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this thing out, because if they're smart, they'll do just what I'm talking about. If they're going to say you want to talk about lying to get in office, let's go back and take a look at some stuff here. We're for the Defense of Marriage Act. Oh, really? Well, you didn't defend it very much because the Defense of Marriage Act was very explicit. A marriage between a man and a woman, period. Didn't have nothing else after that. So anyway, I tell you this thing, I was kind of raging in my mind, and I'm thinking, what we're learning from this and the people we interact with on a daily basis, especially when I was watching back and forth with people from Brazil. One guy was lamenting that people who were protesting and seemingly down with the cause just folded up and started saying to the people that are still want to protect their country from Marxism, they're starting to tell their friends, oh, give it up, just go with the flow. And, of course, that's very disheartening. And, but it makes you think. I mean, I go back in my mind when Trump was still in office, and I was interacting with some people that were military, active military, talking smack about Trump, which is against the code of conduct. You're not allowed to do that when you wear that uniform. Whether you like him or not, the president of the United States is the president of the United States. You can't talk in derogatory terms while you're wearing that uniform about your commander in chief. But the people I interacted with, I won't do a blanket condemnation of anybody. But the individuals I was interacting with, some of them were. And so that's why in the past I've gotten into dust-ups, because I would respond to somebody in the chats, and then somebody else would say, he's a veteran, you can't talk to him like that. Well, hey, I don't give everybody a pass because they're a veteran, okay? I've heard not just veterans, but active duty people violate the code of conduct by the way they treated the president of the United States, okay? And I honor people's service. I respect people's service. Of course I do. But I don't have any respect for disservice. And I can take that attitude down to when I run into somebody who's saying, I want my college loan paid off. Well, I don't have respect for that kind of thinking. And I'm not going to do anything but show disrespect for that kind of thinking. You get some poor slob who goes out and works for 20 years. He can't afford college, never had the opportunity to go to college. Or him or her spends decades of their life working, and they're supposed to pay for your fancy ass for your college, and you think that is a good thing? You think that is an American way to behave? And I've told young people to their faces just what I said. Just now, I said, you think people should pay for your lazy ass? And, I don't like getting that way, but it's getting to the point where you can be forceful but not aggressive, but you can firmly state your opinion to these people who feel that if they racked up $100,000 college bill or 40,000 or whatever, and they think that their fellow Americans should pay for it, you should do just what I did. I'm suggesting and you don't have to use any language, but you can say that that is not an American way of thinking. That is very unfair and smacks of Marxism. That anybody out here working, that you deserve one drop of the sweat of their brow. And that's the way Ronald Reagan used to put it, the sweat of your brow. And so when I see these people, members of the military behaving in a disappointing way, former members, current members, or students that want money handed over to them, or anybody in the education system that does not see something wrong with the issues I've been discussing earlier, I'm going to be nice, but I'm going to be firm and say if something's immoral, if something's Marxist, if someone is violating the code of conduct, I will tell them to their face. A teacher, a student, a member of the armed forces, or a police officer. And I'm friends with a wide range of people over my years. So, that's something to keep. I mean, it's not like you have to call them SOB or treat them in such a way where they feel like you have hatred or anger towards them. You can state your position that you don't appreciate Marxist thinking, that you weren't put on this earth to pay somebody else's bills. Or that if we behaved in a manner at least to not disrespect Obama, we might not have respected him, but we didn't disrespect him. They sure in the heck have no business disrespecting President Trump. So I'm not going to kiss up to anybody just because they're wearing their service on their sleeve. It's their behavior. Well, the other thing too, I looked to see Trump was quiet all morning. No, nothing coming out, nothing. And then he did put out some truths about an hour, I guess, before I came up, showing how many senators, governors, representatives have gone by the wayside because they bumped up against Trump. So that was a good thing to put out, but nothing about the Brazil situation. And I guess his last public appearance was when he was with RSBN answering some questions, and he looked so cool. He was as cool, as I said last night, cool as a cucumber. But the old joke is he looked so cool, you'd have thought he had change for an ice cube. I mean, he was cool. And nothing is more unsettling to an antagonist or an opponent when you're not flustered. The old saying, never let them see you sweat. And he wasn't sweating last night. Now, I haven't heard whether Bolsonaro came out and spoke to anyone or was even seen by anyone. So you put that together with this, you might as well say blackout of reporting on what's happening down there. And I pulled up a map of South America, and you look at how the relativism of it, of Brazil to Chile to Peru, where that was in the news, and Venezuela, and then right above that, you see Cuba, and you see St. Croix, where Biden is, and where he vacationed. And you're like, boy, that's a lot of scumbags right there in a very close area, and a place to put them all. So that's the I won't say fantasy part, but the the what I'd like to see part of my mind. Whether I get to see it, I don't know. So anyway, RSBN. I saw a Tim Pool had a story that the agents at the FBI, I guess they got some text messages or emails where they were singling out Right Side Broadcasting Network to have them censored. And they're monitoring people too. I'm just a peanut channel. They may monitor, they may not. But that's what a lot of people were expressing from Brazil, was that if somebody goes through their past posts, they can't, they can take the stuff down, they can erase it, but it's still there. They're worried about persecution. And rightfully so. So I don't know. I mean, if they persecute me, I just have to take it, I reckon. But I said last night, what are they going to do? And the talk is now about everybody just going on general strike. And I saw earlier in the chats where somebody said General Flynn said, "Do not comply." So I guess in a way that is a going on strike. Us going on strike with all this garbage. We're just going to not pay attention to it and not go on strike with the news, go on strike with the mandates, go on strike with all the garbage they're putting out that we don't agree with. That is just too far out of a fair society. Just don't comply with it. Now in Brazil, they're talking about, everybody just don't go to work, don't participate as long as this government is. What are they going to do? Make you get up and go to work? Well, that's what communists do. One thing they do, they make sure you get up and go to work. Now they don't make sure you're eating. They don't make sure you got medical care or housing. But one thing they will make sure you do is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Let me just see what's going on in the chats. Did everybody didn't know we're doing it last night, did you? Ha ha. Well, it's Lori, I see what you're saying. It's a private club, and you got to get through those doors. You got to be a member, and people want their privacy. And I'm sure there's interactions in there that they may not want people to see. I'm sure Bolsonaro was there at Mar-a-Lago, and let me tell you, his opponents would very much like to see and hear who he's meeting with and who he's speaking to. So I'm sure everybody that was inside that ballroom or where they had the gala was vetted and checked out, and I'm sure that Bolsonaro met with Trump in a very secure location. Hi, Donna. How you doing? It's okay. You can go stay with us to the end, and you go back to the front. Oh, you made it live. Hi, Ronald. How you doing? Yeah, make sure you hit the bell notification, and then that's the way they let you know I go live, according to them. So I'm trying to see, I'm far from perfect. I mean, has anybody heard any news other than what I'm saying? Uh, I mean, I'm hearing both sides from citizens of Brazil of hopefulness, and a lot of people are talking about the letter of the alphabet that a lot of people talk about. Even down in Brazil, it's all over. People are quoting it. You can't tell people, you have to show people. I saw that several times. People have to reach the precipice. I saw that several times. And so there are people holding out hope, and most of the people that are holding out hope are the ones who are quoting the information bulletin board, I'll say, with that specific letter. So, okay, Nick, yes, I see. I can't see the whole headline, but Bolsonaro was cheered at, that was probably when he was in Orlando, right? And tell me if I'm right, when that there was a post on Telegram that he had arrived in Orlando. He had security around him, and he also, I heard, had Secret Service around him, and a lot of people from South America came to the area to cheer him and wave at him and stuff. But he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't make any public pronouncement, unless everybody heard any different. So, and then, as I was saying, you have the group that I was just talking about, trying to stay positive and talking about this Article 142 that Bolsonaro turned over the decision and everything about the event. That word I can't say, over to the Supreme Court of the military. People keep bringing that up also. So they're not all despondent, but there are a lot of people coming in saying that the military isn't worth a hoot, and they'll do anything for their $500 or 500 pesos or whatever it is they get a month, and that we're all doomed. But that could be people just causing trouble in the trying to get people to lose hope. But I feel that there's way more that have hope than the ones who are. Seems to me some of them are trying to drum up anger because they keep up bringing up the military as the problem, and the military is not the problem. So anyway, very, very odd, very quiet. STM, just remember that STM, Article 142, that is a superior military court, is who's supposedly calling the shots right now, and the one who is overseeing all of it is the Secretary of Defense for Brazil. I had his name written down. I'm trying to find it in here, but I wanted to see if this Lulu would try to relieve the Secretary of Defense. I think that's what I said earlier, Secretary of Defense. If he's going to try to relieve him of his duties, what's going to happen there? But I did see a photograph where he was walking with his back. He was walking past the generals, but he had his body turned to where his back was to these generals, and he was talking to somebody else, and he was showing them very little respect or even acknowledging those generals at all when he was going through his ceremony, so to speak. But I want to thank my new subscribers. I have a message that popped up that said I have a new subscriber. I can't see all of my messages without dropping off on the phone altogether. I can't do that. But thanks to my new subscribers. I really appreciate it. And this is a viewer supported and creator supported channel only. I've got links in the description if you want to help the channel out. I appreciate it. Buy me a coffee link. Now that that is out of the way, the last thing I want to do is go through discussing something and say, I don't know that there's anything happening, and while I'm talking, something is happening. And my thoughts on the matter, I've talked about in the past. If a decision were up to me, or I was participating in the decision about when to do something, and I keep on harping that the main thing is to reduce human suffering. That's a law of war. That you would do it at a time when people are most prepared. And I said it was the 30-day world. Everybody gets close to 50% of people in our country, and I'm sure that's the same way in the country we're talking about. They paid into Social Security, they're retired, they're getting finally getting their Social Security back, and that is usually on the first, or disability, I think, is the third. And that's a large segment of the population that living in that 30-day world. And if you're going to do something, take some kind of action, it'd be very hard for it not to be disruptive in some way to everyday life, and you don't know what they're going to do in response. You would do it at a time when people got a little jingle in their pocket. Sometime the first 2 weeks of the month, after everybody gets a little money. Because people are, they go month to month. They got to pay their mortgage payment or their rent, and they got to pay their light bills. They got, and that happens once a month. And if I were to pick the day and time, I would definitely not pick towards the end of the month where I know everybody's broke, and that things might be disrupted enough to where they won't have access to electronic deposits or stuff like that. So I would be saying it would happen the first 2 weeks of the month if it was what they call a white brim making a counter move or a move for these people, and then I also would I would have a scenario of good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen. Good night, Grandpa. Good night, Grandma. Just like the Waldens, everybody goes to bed, the lights go off, and then boom, kick the door in, grab them. That's what I do. I do where everybody woke up in the morning going, what's going on? I wouldn't do it in the middle of the day. So that's what I think about. If it's going to be initiated by the good guys, it'll be sometime toward the beginning of the month, and I would do it just like they do it, dark at night. Just like when they get their talking points where everybody on every station across the country is using the exact same words. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Donald Trump lied. They all say the same thing. 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, little red wagon shows up with boxes on the back, and they go in the building, and next thing you know, we all find out who's president the next day. That's when I would do it. Just like when they do their stuff. So let me see. Oh, see, you all got generators. Yeah. Well, Lori, if you don't have a fireplace, get you a propane heater. Those are great for backup, or a propane stove. You can cook and heat with it. and you put a little flower pot or big flower pot over a small flame on a propane stove. I mean, just something quick to do. So anyway, I don't know if that makes any sense to you all. Bolsonaro cheered by fans of Orlando, Lulu by the commies in Brazil. Yeah, that's right. That was yesterday, Reba. He was when he showed up in Orlando, and then he made it. I guess made it from there to Mar-a-Lago. I didn't see any reports of him showing up at Mar-a-Lago. I didn't see any reports of him and his wife with Trump and Melania. But I have to imagine, then you hear what I said. Lulu said today at his inauguration. While he does not want to, how do you put it? He didn't want. He's saying he didn't want to go after people, but he wanted to enforce the rule of law, something like that. If I was Bolsonaro, I'd be out of there too, because if they went after Trump the way he did after he left office, he did what he was, according to them, supposed to have done. Let Biden go in that office, and he went to Mar-a-Lago. He didn't do anything to provoke, but they still are trying to get him, and they still have criminal referrals. The last what was it, December? What was the last day of the J6 bunch? They were vicious. I mean, and just coming up with exaggerations and demands for him to be charged criminally. And the country of Brazil is going to be a little rougher around the edges as far as parliamentary procedures. I'll put it that way. But the other thing this person brought up that was bringing up 142 was that Bolsonaro waited until I think it was 19 legislators took the oath that won and were conservative, and they were seated. That's when he did the handover to the military Supreme Court. And the analysis by this person was, if he would have done it before the legislators got in office, it could have caused problems. So he thought the timing was important, that these legislators got in. And he also pointed out the fact that Bolsonaro supposedly lost when these down ticket people won very comfortably. And so they have legislative control of the House. So it was an interesting thing to who's this Feroz? Okay, well, we don't put that F word in my comments. Thank you, I appreciate it. No harm, no foul. Just that's just like putting a big bullseye right on channel. So anyway, okay, folks. So we've gone almost an hour, and that's the only thing I can really say is to check out that Article 142 and the STM, which is the initials they use for, and I read it twice, it's Supreme Military Court. To me, that's SMC, but in Brazil, they call it STM, and also that the Secretary of Defense is supposedly the one that Bolsonaro handed the ball off to, as far as really the future of the country. So let's hope that is the case, and let's, that Bolsonaro is somewhere safe. And when I think of that phone call of Biden to Poroshenko while Biden was vice president and just before Trump took office, most of you probably heard about this phone call. Some of you may not have, but they have a tape and they played it. But then it gets taken down. I need to find a recording of that. But then again, if I put it up, they'll take my video down. But I can tell you roughly what Biden said. He said to Poroshenko what to do concerning money, large sums of money, before Trump gets sophisticated enough to find out what's going on, is what he said. And that was very important for Poroshenko's personal well-being. So if that ain't laying it out there that what could happen to another person if they didn't follow what Biden was talking about, anybody that hears that kind of talk and is still for Biden is no friend of mine. It has no moral compass as far as I'm concerned. But I would already be in that position with that person if they are in favor of what's happening to our kids in schools. Okay. And, but knowing that Biden is out and out threatening like a common mafia thug, and it would still support him, then that's, if they don't got a problem with Biden, I got a problem with them. I'll put it that way. So anyway, folks, we're coming up on the hour mark. Hi, Alicia. I'm just getting ready to sign off. And I've been over some stuff that you might want to go to the beginning and check out. But give me a thumbs up. Well, if you didn't like the broadcast, give me a thumbs down. I mean, what? I mean, I can handle the truth. And you all have a great night. And hit the notification bell. You know when I go live. It's hit and miss when I go live. So y'all have a great night. I thank all my supporters and everybody who participates in the chats. And I will be talking to you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.